Did you have your meal today? What did you eat? Pizza? Burger? Or rice? Why did you eat it? Were you hungry? Or were you running out of energy? Students, all living beings consume food as food provides us all energy. And where does food comes from? It does not come from our kitchens, but it comes from the crops that grow in the fields. Anything we do requires energy. And energy comes from the food we eat. And food comes from different types of crops sown. In this video, we will study how the crops in the farms or fields are converted into the food we eat. This process of conversion of crops to the food we eat is known as crop production and management. Let us now understand the concepts of Class 8, Chapter 1, Crop Production and Management. We will study in this chapter what is a crop, what are the different types of crops, what are the agricultural practices followed, and what are the types of food derived from animals. What is a crop? Are the plants in our garden crops? No. Because a crop is when the same kind of plants are grown in the fields or on a large scale. Have you ever seen a wheat field while traveling by road or train? Or a field of any vegetable? These all are examples of crops. So, crop plants are plants that are grown and cultivated by humans for food and for other purposes on a large scale. Some examples of crops are cereals, pulses, vegetables and fruits. What are the different types of crops? There are varied climatic conditions in India. Temperature, humidity, and rainfall differ from region to region. And a vast variety of crops are grown in every area. Crops in India are categorized into two categories, Kharif crops and Rabi crops. They are categorized on the basis of seasons and the climatic conditions they are sown in. First type of crops are Kharif crops. The crops which are sown in the rainy season are called Kharif crops. The rainy season in India is generally from June to September. Examples of Kharif crops are paddy, maize, soybean, groundnut, cotton, etc. Second type of crops are Rabi crops. The crops which are sown in the winter season are called Rabi crops. The winter season in India is generally from October to March. Examples of Rabi crops are wheat, peas, gram, barley, etc. What are the agricultural practices that farmers follow in order to raise a crop successfully? Agricultural practices are various tasks that a farmer performs in a step-by-step manner to produce a great crop. The agricultural practices performed are preparation of soil, sowing, adding manure and fertilizers, irrigation, protection from weeds, harvesting, and storage. Let us now discuss each of them briefly. The first agricultural practice followed by farmers is preparation of soil. One of the most important tasks in agriculture is to turn the soil and loosen it. And soil is always prepared and loosened before sowing the seeds. Loosening of soil particles adds nutrients in the soil that increases crop yields. What are the techniques or processes followed to prepare the soil? Tilling or plowing is the process followed to loosen or prepare the soil. The tools used in the process of tilling or plowing are plow, hoe, and cultivator. The first tool that helps in loosening and turning of the soil is plow. Plow is being used since ancient times for tilling the soil, adding fertilizers to it, removing weeds and turning the soil. Plow is made of wood and is carried by a pair of bulls or other animals. The plowshare on a plow is a triangular iron strip. A plow shaft is the main part of the plow which is made using a log of wood. One end of the shaft has a handle. The other end is attached to a beam that is placed on the bull's necks. Discuss is hoe. A hoe is a tool that is used to dig up soil to remove weeds and also to loosen up the soil before planting a sapling. It has a long rod of wood or iron. A strong, broad and bent plate of iron is fixed to one of its ends. It is pulled by animals. Plow and hoe were traditional tools for tilling the soil. Nowadays, farmers use a tractor-driven cultivator. A cultivator is attached to the tractor and helps in loosening soil. It saves a lot of labor and time. The second agricultural practice is sowing of seeds. Sowing is planting of seeds in the field. Before sowing, good quality seeds are selected. Now, it is not possible for a single person to sow seeds in a large field, so certain tools are used for sowing. The tools used for sowing the seeds are traditional tool and seed drill. Traditional tool is a tool-shaped light funnel used traditionally for sowing seeds. The seeds are filled into the funnel, passed down through 2 or 3 pipes having sharp ends. These ends pierce into the soil and place seeds there. The second tool for sowing is seed drill. This tool sows the seeds uniformly at proper distances and depths. It ensures that seeds get covered by the soil after sowing and prevents damage caused by birds. It saves a lot of time and labor too. Students, now, our seeds have been planted in the prepared soil. Adding manures and fertilizers will provide them the nutrients to grow. Adding manures and fertilizers is the agriculture practice followed to ensure healthy growth of the sown seeds. Are manure and fertilizers the same thing? Both of them provide nutrients, but they are different. Let's see the difference between them. Manure is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung, whereas fertilizers are man-made and are inorganic salts. Manures can be prepared in the fields, whereas fertilizers are prepared in a factory. Manures add decomposed organic matter or humus to the soil. Fertilizers do not add decomposed organic matter to the soil. Manures are relatively less rich in plant nutrients, whereas fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The fourth agricultural practice is irrigation. After adding the manures and fertilizers in the sown seeds, water is provided to them. So, irrigation is the process of supplying water to the plants. A good supply of water will help seeds germinate properly. For supplying water to the crops, farmers use 2 different modern methods of irrigation. The 2 methods are sprinkler irrigation and drip irrigation. In sprinkler irrigation method, water is allowed to sprinkle through rotating nozzles. The rotating nozzles are attached to a main pipe supplying water. Water is sprinkled in the entire field as if it is raining. The next method is drip irrigation. In this method, water falls drop by drop just at the position of the roots. Pipes are installed at the base of the plants and water is released only at the roots of the plant. Next agricultural practice is protection from weeds. What is weed? And why crops need protection from it? Weed is undesirable plant in the field which grows naturally along with the crop. You can see certain green plants in the wheat field. These green plants in the wheat field are weeds. Crops need protection from it because they affect the growth of the crop by competing with the crop plants for water, nutrients, space and light. What is weeding? And how it is done? Process of removal of weed is called weeding. Weeding can be done by tilling, by hand picking, and by spraying weedicides. Let's discuss each of the weeding techniques briefly. Tilling for removal of weeds. Tilling or plowing before planting the crops helps in uprooting and killing of weeds. Weeds after uprooting dry up and get mixed with the soil and are no longer harmful for the crop. Handpicking for removal of weeds. We can remove the weed by handpicking also. We will go wherever we see the weed, uproot it or cut it from the ground with the help of a khurpi. The best time to remove weeds is before they produce flowers and seeds. Spraying weedicides. Weeds are also controlled by spraying certain chemicals called weedicides in the fields to kill the weeds. Weedicides do not damage the crops. The next agricultural practice is harvesting. Cutting the crop after it has ripened and gathering the grains is known as harvesting. Harvesting can be done manually using a sickle. Sickle has a sharp-edged metal blade attached to a wooden handle and helps in cutting the crops. After harvesting the grains, they are separated from the straw and chaff. Threshing is the process of separating the edible part of the crop from the chaff that surrounds it, which is not edible. Traditionally, threshing was done by beating on the grain with a threshing tool on the thresher floor. Nowadays, threshing machines are used for the same purpose too. Winnowing is also the process of separating the edible part of the crop from the chaff that surrounds it, which is not edible. Winnowing is a process in which we allow natural wind to blow through the grains so the lighter substances fly away, whereas the heavier grains fall to the ground. The last agriculture practice is storage. After the harvesting of the crops, we have to store the crops. Granaries are the place where freshly obtained food grains are stored. There are many precautions which needs to be taken for storing the food grains. These are, grains should be dried properly or they might rot easily. They should be stored in completely dry gunny bags. The bags should be kept in a place that is completely moisture-free. Storage areas should be well ventilated. So, students, these were the agricultural practices followed by farmers for a good crop. Let us quickly revise what we learned in them. The first agricultural practice was preparation of soil. We learned about the three tools, plow, hoe, and cultivator, which are used to loosen the soil and prepare it. The next agricultural practice was sowing of seeds. We learned about the two tools used for sowing the seeds, which were traditional tool and seed drill. The third agricultural practice after sowing seeds was adding manures and fertilizers to the soil. We learned the difference and importance of manures and fertilizers in this topic. The fourth agricultural practice was irrigation. We learned about the two modern methods of irrigation, which were sprinkler irrigation and drip irrigation. The fifth agricultural practice was protection from weeds. We learned about three methods through which crops can be protected from weeds. The methods were tilling or plowing, hand picking, and spraying weedicides. The sixth agricultural practice was harvesting. We learned about two methods of separating grains from chaffs. The two methods were threshing and winnowing. The last agricultural practice was storage. In this topic, we learned about the precautions that needs to be taken during storage of food grains. Students, we do not consume food only from plants. We also consume many items from animals. Food products from animals like milk, meat, eggs, etc. have great nutritious value. Several people are involved in day-to-day care, breeding, and raising of livestock. All the steps that are involved in day-to-day care, selective breeding and raising of livestock are included in a branch of agriculture. This branch of agriculture is called animal husbandry. With this, we have completed our chapter, and now you can go to Edurev app or website to understand the concepts in detail with our chapter-wise notes. You can also take chapter-wise tests to evaluate yourself. Do you know? You can unlock all the locked videos, documents, and tests with Edurev Infinity Plan to ace your exams. Thank you, students.